All right, today we're going to learn how to assemble our car. So to do that, I'm just going to delete this assembly, and then we'll work through. I also have two front wheels here, so let me get rid of one. Make sure I got rid of the right one. All right. So after you have your, whoops, there's a leftover axle. Once you have all of your parts, you have your car itself, you have the back wheel, and you have the front wheel, you are ready to assemble. You can create your axle within the actual assembly, and then we'll pop back to a part studio, right? So you don't have to guess how far your axles will be. So what I'm going to do is hit the plus there and go to create assembly. From there, I'm going to insert all of my parts. So I'll place my blank in there. Well, I guess it's not a blank anymore. I'm going to place my two back wheels, and I'll place my two front wheels and hit the check. Once the placement of your assemblies in there, you'll see that they are all facing the front. So I'm going to rotate these wheels over here 180 degrees. They don't have to be perfect. I like it so that they are at least 180, and you'll be able to quickly get to them. But essentially what we're going to do is use revolute mates, connect all of our wheels, and then we're going to offset them 1/8 of an inch from the car, because you do need a little bit of wiggle room between the wheels themselves and the body, or else you're going to have a lot of friction where those two pieces are meeting and rubbing against. So we're going to go ahead and grab the revolute mate, and I'll do the back wheel first. So I'm going to grab where the axle will go into the wheel, rotate my car around, and select my axle hole. Make sure that that blue Z line is facing out. And then I'm going to click this offset, and I'm going to offset it 1/8 of an inch. If it goes into your car like that, all you're going to do is hit -1/8, and it'll pop it out 0.125. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that for all of my wheels. So grab where the axle goes, make sure that blue line's facing out. Same thing. And I want to say for mine, it's always going to be -1/8. Yeah, so it's going to offset it and push it away. So you can see that gap there. It's not quite touching the car. All right, let me continue to do this. And the reason we use revolute mates is these would spin, obviously, and we could spin them. You're not going to see much of an animation, but you could spin. This one's kind of hard for me to get. Here. Oh. But you could animate and spin these wheels with the revolute mate. So we just stay true to what is going to move in real life. If you did a fasten mate and it works, it is what it is. That's fine. -1/8. Hit the check. And then we have one more. Come on. Offset -1/8. All right, so we have all of our wheels mated to the car body. Now we need to add our axles. So what that means is we have to place points at the beginning of our axle. I guess you can say will begin, right? Which is all the way down inside this wheel, and then it should go all the way down to the inside of this wheel. You want to make sure that whenever you're doing this in person that it isn't the full length, because it's going to end up being a little bit long. So this gives you at least a quick measurement, and it could be longer, it could be shorter in real life once you do make it, but it's most likely going to be shorter. but it all depends on, how accurate you cut your car body. So we're going to place 2 mate connectors. We're going to place one right up here. And we're going to place one back here. This one's a little bit harder to reach, but you want to make sure that that blue line is facing into the car. Oh, it only... Okay, so it only places one, and then you have to hit the check. And then place another, it looks like. All right, so what that's used for is now we can go ahead and create a sketch on here in order to create the axle. So I'm going to come up here where it says Create Part Studio in Context, right? So that means within the assembly. And whenever I click that, I want to click on my mate connector here and hit the check. It's going to take me into a part studio with my assembly kind of in the background. From there, I'm going to create a sketch, and I'm going to grab the plane right here, right? And I'm just going to draw from the center point here, that mate connector we created, and I'm going to draw a circle. Whoops. I'm going to draw a circle that is 1/8 of an inch. I'll hit the check and extrude it. And whenever I extrude it, you'll see, oh, okay, that's how we are making the axle. It goes right through as long as you have the axle hole lined up. It goes right through to where we need it to go. Now, we are going to, unfortunately, it's not going to be symmetric, right? We could do up to part, we could do, but for the most part, you could just kind of drag it. And again, this doesn't have to be like the most crazy accurate thing, but you're just going to draw it up to this, and if you were to cut your axle length this length, it would be a good length because it would go about almost all the way through and then almost all the way to the back on this side. So it's going to start here, so it's going to look correct, but in real life, you want this axle to go all the way back here, and it would, right? So at 2.19, it could be a little bit shorter, a little bit longer. You just want to make sure it's not coming through your wheel over here, right? And we can go ahead and hit the check and insert and go to assembly. We'll hit the check, right? And it'll place that on there, right? So now we have our axle that runs through, connects wheel to wheel. Now, you have this mate connector that's shown. You can get rid of it by hitting the eyeball. Then it's not, in the way. So now I'll go ahead and do that in the back. It's a little bit harder to see in the back because the body is bigger. But again, I'm going to hit Create Part Studio in Context. I'm going to click on that wheel right here, mate connector, and hit the check. So you do want to make sure you hit that mate connector. Create a new sketch on the back of that. Grab the center point. Draw it 1/8 of an inch. Hit the check and extrude. All right, so I'm just dragging that out. So you can see I went into that part a little bit. Let's bring it back. All right, I'll hit the check, insert, go to assembly, hit the check again. Turn off the eyeball on the mate connector. Right, and it does add, part studios. So like this one 3, this one's 2. So I believe this one's the front. So we can rename it front axle. This one's the back, rear axle, right? And now you know how long your axles need to be whenever you create this in real life. If you want to change color of the axles, you don't want them to be blue, you could totally do that right now too. So I'll go dark gray, since if you choose black, it really washes out any detail. It's just a cylinder, but same thing. It tends to look better if it's not all washed out. All right, so not bad. Not a bad assembly. Go ahead and give it a shot. If you need any help, let me know.